Hello, welcome to our show, Crooked Doctors. Today is Friday, December 23rd, 2011, and I'm going to present today evidence for Mike Gayta at the FBI. Mike Gayta is a FBI agent over at 26 Federal Plaza, and I spoke to him 6 months ago, and I talked to him today. I left messages for him today. I didn't talk to him today, but I spoke to him about 6 months ago. And what we're going to do today is give Mike Gayta over the FBI evidence that three, count them, three probations officers at the New York City Probations Department lied. And that's very serious. So this week, last night, I subpoenaed the commissioner for the Probations Department, Vincent L. Schiraldi. I probably mispronounced his last name. And he sent down to Small Claims Court in Brooklyn an attorney from the New York City Legal Department. And I discussed in some depth and detail with that attorney, whose name I'm going to give out now. And we're going to look at the videos of me talking to this attorney in the hallway in the courtroom. The New York City Legal Department sent sent an attorney named Mr. Hackworth, Thaddeus Hackworth. This is Thaddeus Hackworth's, and I'm sorry, Mr. Hackworth, for mispronouncing your name. Thaddeus Hackworth is an attorney with the New York City Legal Department. I had subpoenaed the commissioner for probations, and last night he sent his attorney to Small Claims Court in Brooklyn, and I'll explain why. Mr. Thaddeus Hackworth's phone number is 212-788-1165. That's 212-788-1165. Why is this important? Because in order to put me in Rikers Island, the two probations officers lied. And I'm going to show you some of that. I'm going to show you some of that evidence right now. So let's go to as you know, I caught my medical school and a whole bunch of other people in crimes. The FBI has been in on this for a long time. Word on the street is that the FBI used Ralph Pagnozzi's house in the apartment that I was living in at 278 3rd Street in Jersey City. Word on the street is that the FBI used Ralph Pagnozzi's house in a drug sting operation, and so now it's okay for the Pagnozzis to cheat on their income tax. So the FBI has been in on this for a while. Listen, if I let my house be used for a drug sting operation, would the FBI let me cheat on my income tax? When I went down to Washington to speak about fraud in federal student loans, the government sicked the FBI on me. So they don't protect me, they participate in crimes against me. And my medical school pressed false criminal charges in Manhattan. I'm rambling a little bit, so let me just try to orient everyone. My medical school, the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University, pressed false criminal charges against me. I was illegally convicted. And at sentencing, I'm standing at sentencing with Michael J. Redenburg. He's my privately paid defense attorney. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office was represented by Michelle Bayor, Assistant District Attorney Michelle Bayor. And the judge was Judge McLaughlin. So I'm standing at sentencing about a little over a year ago, in May of 2010. And my defense attorney, Mr. Redenburg, says, "Your Honor, I am in possession of the pre-sentencing investigative report." And I say, "I'm not. I've never seen it. I want to see it." And if I had seen that pre-sentencing investigative report, if it wasn't kept away from me with criminal intent, I could have stopped a lot of the harm towards me. So let's take a look at page 5, Mr. Mike Gayta at the FBI. page 5 of the pre-sentencing investigative report. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Let's take a look at page 5 of the sentencing. Oh, do I have a call? Let's pick up this call. Hello? 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 Oops, hello?
Yes, they sent the rookie attorney to you. They had a battery of people in Schiraldi's office. They sent the most junior attorney.
Did they? Well, it really doesn't matter. Stay with me here, caller, because what I'm going to do right now as I change the camera view is I'm going to increase the magnification, and what I'm going to show is let me take this down a little bit, and let me change the camera view. This is the camera view, and we're changing the view to page 5 of the sentencing. This is happening in May of 2010. And can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, so you're out there in TV land. Thank you, caller. And right here, this is Michael J. Redenburg, whose name is misspelled on the sentencing transcript. He says, and I'm going to read this, and I'm going to make this really big so nobody can miss it. He says, "Judge, as an initial matter, I am in receipt of the PSI, the pre-sentence report." And this is the pre-sentencing investigative report. That's Mr. Redenburg, whose name is misspelled here. It's Michael J. Redenburg. Do not under any circumstances hire this man. The defendant is me, Lidya Radin, and I protest and I say I am not. I have never seen it. So I'm protesting to Judge McLaughlin, Judge Edward J. I believe it's Edward J. McLaughlin. So let's set the scene here. I'm in a courtroom. Michael J. Redenburg is my privately paid defense attorney. He says to the judge, I'm in receipt of the pre-sentencing investigative report. And I say, Your Honor, I'm not. I've never seen it. And I've got this man by the throat almost saying, and I'm saying to him, let me see the pre-sentencing investigative report. I want to see. If there was an investigation, I want to see it. Michelle Bayor is representing the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. She's a trial supervisor. So she's an expert now. So we have Assistant District Attorney Michelle Bayor, Judge McLaughlin, my privately paid attorney, and all of these three people conspired to keep the pre-sentencing investigative report out of my hands. Why? Because in that pre-sentencing investigative report, the complaining witnesses changed their story. 2 probations officers lied, and Daniel Carrow, my roommate, lied. And had that pre-sentencing investigative report been put in my hands, and I was entitled to it, I'm a defendant, and I'm supposed to be intimately involved in my defense, had that document been put in my hand in May of 2010, I could have stopped a lot of the harm towards me. Now, it's very frightening when probations officers will lie. So
they'll do worse than that.
Oh, yeah. So let's look at the pre-sentencing investigative report. This is the pre-sentencing investigative report. This is the pre-sentencing investigative report. And what's really frightening is, and that's why we've got to get Al Sharpton involved in this and lots of community leaders, because at any time this could happen to you. So right down here, the summary of the defendant's statement, and I want to make this really big, okay? Here's summary of the defendant's statement, and here's what they say. Was the defendant interviewed? No, the defendant refused to interview. Now, I was told at Rikers by the corrections officer that my interview would be rescheduled. This interview was being done last minute on a Wednesday, I believe, just before sentencing, which was on a Monday. And here's what they say. Defendant interviewed. No, defendant refused to interview. Now, I was told that this interview would be rescheduled, and the defendant signed a New York City Corrections Department form attached. I've never seen this form. That's been kept from me. Dated April 30th, 2010, refusing to be interviewed by us. Okay, does everybody see that? Do you see that, caller?
Yes.
And stating, don't want to go. Now, I didn't say I didn't want to go. What I said was, I got people coming in from out of town. You know, these are people who have traveled hundreds of miles. can we do this, you know, a little bit later, the next day? And they told me it would be rescheduled. So you've got the probations department that states in their own pre-sentencing investigative report that, guess what, I was not interviewed. This is page 3. God forbid we should miss this. This is page 3.
See, what you have to understand is cops are paid to lie.
Pardon me?
Cops are paid to lie. If they have if they arrest somebody, they will lie to you in order to get you to incriminate yourself. That's what they do.
Yeah, and there's a joke for it in New York, and it's called test-a-lying instead of testifying. There's a joke in New York where, I don't think it's funny, where cops lie so much that it's called test-a-lying instead of testifying. I don't think that's funny. So in any case, I'm in Rikers Island convicted illegally. The charges against me were aggravated harassment. School officials that I'd caught in crimes like perjury, school officials that I'd caught in crimes claimed they were annoyed because I was calling the school saying I want my records and I want to correct them and I want my money back and I want you people to leave me the hell alone. And a federal judge, Judge Patterson, chairman of a department at Montefiore, and the United States Senator, Senator Lautenberg's office, told me to contact the school. So my medical school claimed they were annoyed because a student was compelled to contact them and try to access and correct her records. So they railroaded me, and they got their illegal conviction. Now they want to illegally incarcerate me because they want me to shut up. And in a pre-sentencing investigative report on page 3, this is page 3 of the pre-sentencing investigative report. This is how easy this is to understand. I mean, this is not really rocket science. On page 3, right here, page 3, they say the defendant was never, the defendant is me, the defendant was never interviewed. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to page 3. The probations officer says, I was never interviewed. And then on page 7, they say, here's all the stuff that she said. Now, I'm in Rikers Island illegally, and I'm explaining this to another probations officer, and her name is Rubenkowski. Probations officer, whoops. Hello?
If you'd like to make a call, please hang up and try again. If you need help,
sorry.
Hang up and then dial your...
Let me drop the call. Now, as I'm illegally in Rikers Island, I'm talking to a third probations officer named Rubenkowski. You know, I always pronounce her name. I'm really sorry. But this is probations officer Rubinkowski, Rubenkowski. And her phone number for FBI agent Mike Gayta is 718-546-5228. Why don't you call her and ask her? Because I explained to her how on the pre-sentencing investigative report, the probations officers involved said on page 3, I never talked to them. And then on page 7, they say, here's all the stuff the defendant said. And as I discussed with the probations officer Rubenkowski, I'm so sorry that I'm mispronouncing your name. Rubenkowski at Rikers Island, as I explained to her, and as she said to me, they're trying to portray you as a nut. So, of course they are. They want to discredit me. So on page 3 of the pre-sentencing investigative report, the probations officers say, we never talked to the defendant. And then on page 7, which we're going to look at now, they say, here's all the stuff the defendant said. And the effort was to portray me as a nut. So, you know what? Let's look at page 7. Okay, and this is page 7 of the pre-sentencing investigative report. And the first thing I want you to know is, want you to look at or notice, is that the probations officer who's signing off on this is a supervising probations officer, and his name is Steve Seltzer. The supervising, this was reviewed by the officer who did this, is apparently is a guy named, and here I go mispronouncing his name, Lownery. And the supervisor who signed off on this was Steve Seltzer. So Steve Seltzer and this other guy who's writing this claimed that these are all the statements that I said. And this is page 7 of the pre-sentencing investigative report right here at page 7. I want to make sure that the FBI see this because I'm taking this, turning into videotapes and mailing it to them and hand delivering them right here, page 7 of the pre-sentencing investigative report. And yeah, I called Mike Gayta at the FBI today. He was supposed to get back to me. Here we go, page 7 of the pre-sentencing investigative report. There's nothing privileged and confidential about any of this stuff. Here's what they said. And their efforts are to portray me as mentally ill when I'm not, okay? Because what else can my medical school do? And here's what they said. Defendant reported psychological problems. No, I did not. The defendant not receiving required aftercare services. What are they talking about? There's no required aftercare services. Defendant reported he/she is seeing a professional for psychiatric reasons. No, I'm not. I did not report psychological problems. I'm not seeing anyone for required aftercare. I don't know what these people are talking about. And I never reported that I was seeing a professional for psychiatric reasons. I'm not. And then it occurred to me, oh, I get it. They're running a criminal scheme out of Jersey City. And in Jersey City, they created this fiction that I was mailing threatening letters to Judge Rodriguez. That's not true. Remember, Judge Falcone mailed me a threatening letter. That's how the propaganda works. And they claimed, they concocted this big story in Jersey City that I had plea bargained to something, and now I was receiving aftercare. No, that's not true. Now, this is a pre-sentencing investigative report that I've presented that on page 3, the probations officers in New York City admit that I never talked to them. And then on page 7, they say, here's all the stuff the defendant said. And they tried to portray me as a nut. Okay? I never, defendant reported psychological problems? No. Defendant not receiving required, here, let's look at it. Defendant reported psychological problems? No. Defendant not receiving required aftercare? No. Defendant reported she's seeing a professional for psychiatric reasons? No. So, there's something else you have to know, too. Had this pre-sentencing investigative report been put in my hands, all the complaining witnesses changed their stories. And one example that I give is John Scarfone is Associate General Counsel at Yeshiva University. In 2006, he went into federal court and lied about me. A student named Marlene, there was another student who had called me and asked me to be a witness, and John Scarfone was trying to discredit me. Now, there was evidence at trial that showed that John Scarfone lied, and I'm trying to make this as easy to understand for the viewing audience as possible. One lie he told, and there were a number of lies that John Scarfone told, was he claimed I failed all my classes as a first-year medical student except for Todd Olson's anatomy class. That wasn't true. My professor stipulated to this at trial. So from trial to pre-sentencing investigative report, the complaining witnesses at my school changed their story. John Scarfone knows nothing. He wasn't even employed at the school till 1999. I was there from 1994 to 1998. So John Scarfone has no personal knowledge of anything. He's just reading a false record and mouthing the words that Martin Bockstein, the lies that Martin Bockstein put in his mouth. Martin Bockstein is the dishonest attorney. He's a former general counsel at Yeshiva University, and John Scarfone is his stooge. So there I am at sentencing in May of 2010, and I want to get to the video. There I am at sentencing in 2010. The judge, Judge McLaughlin, Assistant District Attorney Michelle Bayor, and Michael J. Redenburg had conspired to keep the pre-sentencing investigative report away from me because on page 3, the probations officers admit that I never talked to them. And on page 7, they said, here's all the stuff Lydia said, or the defendant said, in order to portray me as a nut. the complaining witnesses changed their story and they started to admit that I was telling the truth. So on the pre-sentencing investigative report, they're giving testimony in effect without the benefit of cross-examination, and Dan Carrow lied. Had Dan Carrow told the truth, it's less likely that I would have been incarcerated. Dan Carrow claimed that our relationship was confined to the 2 years we spent as roommates in Washington Heights. That's not true. And we don't have a sexual relationship. I was not his girlfriend. He was not my boyfriend. We shared an apartment. There were 2 separate rooms, 2 separate beds, and 2 separate rooms with a door that had a lock between us. Okay, so all we were friends who were sharing an apartment. He lost his job. He needed some help paying the bills. I was willing to share the apartment with him and pay half the bills while I fought my fight in Jersey. I knew Dan for over 10 years. I had met him at the YMCA where we had worked out together. And he was being discriminated against in one of his jobs. And one of his problems was he was taking these long-term temporary assignments and he couldn't get full-time work because of a bunch of bogus excuses that were made up. So I was like, look, you're good at customer service. I'm one of the hiring managers at Kaplan Educational Centers at 16 Cooper Square. Why don't you come down? We need people who are good in customer service. I was one of 3 or 4 hiring managers. Come down, take the interview. If you get the job, work there as a permanent job, establish a work history for a year or 2, and then you can go on and do what you want to do. So I had known Dan Carrow because I was his direct report in sales and marketing events. Okay, we had a professional working relationship. I was not his lover. I was not his girlfriend. We were friends, and when he needed help with getting a job and establishing a permanent work history, I helped him. And later on, when he needed some help paying the rent, I helped him. And he repaid me by lying to Probations because he owed Stace Gaddy, I believe, some money and he couldn't pay him. So here's Dan Carrow in the pre-sentencing investigative report, and here's how Dan Carrow lied. So here we go. Here's the pre-sentencing investigative report, and here's what Dan says. Yepper. Friends like this, you don't need enemies. Here we go. Okay. Just take this down a little bit. Here we go. Oh, God. I don't even know where to start with this. We spoke with, oh my God, I can't believe he said all this. I'm like flabbergasted reading this as I'm looking at this again. Here we go. He informed that his relationship with the defendant was confined to that of having been her roommate. So let's take a look at this. This is Dan Carrow. He informed. Here, I'll read you the line right here. He informed that his relationship with the defendant was confined to that of having been her roommate. Okay? That's not true. I knew the guy for 5 or 6 years. We were friends. I recommended him for hire at Kaplan Educational Centers. I was director of marketing. Andrew Lankler was a hiring manager. Susie Showen was a hiring manager. Christian Figueredo had some input into the hiring decision. And Tom, I'm going to get Tom's last name wrong, so we'll just call him Tom L., was the center manager. Let's pick up this call. Hello?
Everything you show in all your shows is proving just how badly broken our justice system is from the top down and how corrupt it's become.
Thank
It's
you.
no longer about the people of the country. It's more about big business and how they rule people.
Sorry, you got a little tinny there. That was my mistake. Yeah, that's true. And what I want to do now is the reason why the probations department sent down, because I want to be mindful of how much time I have left. And I got about half an hour or so. The reason why I subpoenaed the probations department was because Dan Carrow had, in a predatory fashion, tried to take advantage of of my medical school pressing false criminal charges against me. And because he owed this guy, Stace Gaddy, some money and couldn't pay him, he figured he'd do a roommate shuffle. And I won against Dan Carrow in landlord-tenant court. And I won against Dan Carrow in landlord-tenant court. He had tried to execute this frivolous eviction, and I wanted my attorney's fees. So I went into small claims court in Brooklyn after I was released from Rikers, and I filed a small claims action, and I'm asking the judge for my attorney's fees. I had to discontinue that case last night because the judge wants to see the contract. I do have a written contract between me and Dan, and I do have lots of other evidence that I will be putting in when I refile this case. But I had subpoenaed the probations department. Why? Because I wanted to be able to demonstrate that Dan Carrow has no credibility. He lied about me in landlord-tenant court. Angry and frustrated, he lied to probations officers to have me illegally incarcerated. When I got out of Rikers Island, he lied to the police, and he lied in most recently in family court. As recently as the end of September of this year, he filled out domestic violence forms about me. That's ridiculous. He got a temporary order of protection based on his lies. This man is a pathological liar. He has a history of lying about me. And when I was in small claims court, and I will go back to small claims court when I asked for my attorney's fees, I needed to be able to show that Dan Carroll has no credibility. He will lie to put someone in jail. This man is dangerous to others.
Now, do you have all this paperwork?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of the restraining order and
there's no restraining order. Dan just went into family court and told a pack of lies, and they issued a temporary order of protection. When we went in front of the judge on September 29th, 2011 of this year, Dan had to admit, yes, I've known Miss Radin for over 10 years. Great, I just caught you. You contradicted yourself. In the pre-sentencing investigative report, you claimed that our relationship was confined to that being of roommates. And in family court, you admitted that you had known me for over 10 years. The judge dismissed this. She knew he was lying, but Dan will go into practically any court and lie about you. So I had to subpoena Andrew Lankler when he was our director from Kaplan. I had to subpoena Kaplan Educational Centers. They sent their attorney down and explained everything to them. And I had to subpoena the New York City Commissioner of Probations, Vincent L. Schiraldi, who sent down Mr. Hackworth, who was the attorney from the New York City Legal Department. And now we're going to go look at a video of me talking to Mr. Hackworth, and I'm explaining this to him. So I needed to set up this video to say, look, I have to subpoena the Commissioner of Probations. The city has to send an attorney down, and I'm talking to this guy, and I'm saying, look, this is really serious. You've got probations officers falsifying reports. This is a crime here to put someone in Rikers illegally. Forget about the small claims action for a minute. Forget about the fact that I'm showing that Dan Carrow has no credibility and he will make false statements to law enforcement. Which, by the way, must be scaring the hell out of people. If you were living, if you were in his apartment, if you were on Washington Heights at 651 West 188th Street, would you want anything to do with Dan Carrow? Caller? Hello? Hello? Oh, did I lose my caller? Hello, caller, are you still there? Sometimes cell phones cut out a bit. So, the bottom line is, Dan Carrow has a Facebook page, and I'm going to show you his photograph. I mean, let's go to the video now. I was standing out in the hall with Mr. Thaddeus Hackworth, and there was someone who was helping me. They had a camera. Hello?
Please hang up and try again.
Oh, yeah.
If you need help,
sorry.
Hang up and then.
Sometimes when the callers call in, they'll call on a cell phone, and depending how the weather is and how the service works, sometimes we'll drop the call. So I'm sorry, caller, but thank you for calling. Thaddeus Hackworth is an attorney. He comes down to small claims court, and I explained to him that the reason he's here is because when I go into small claims court, I may have to attack Dan Carrow's credibility with the judge and say, look, Your Honor, this man has no credibility. He lied here, he lied here, he lied here. He lied to a probations officer to put me in jail. Had he told the truth, it's very unlikely that I would have gone to jail. So I'm explaining this to him, and there's a person who's helping me with a camera that person is a little inexperienced using. The person who did this was not Keith LeBeau. Usually Keith LeBeau is here with me on the show. He couldn't be here today. But Keith LeBeau did not take this video. There was another person who was helping me who took this video. So you're going to see it's a little skewed, and I wanted to set this up. We've got about half an hour to look at this. And I'm going to play it. And this is Thaddeus Hackworth. You'll see me or you hear me trying to talk to him, and I've got the pre-sentencing investigative report, and I'm like, look how serious this is, sir. Dan Carrow lied to the probations officer and to put me in prison, and your two probations officers lied in this report. So this is really important. I mean, putting aside the small claims action for a minute. And again, the reason why the probations department was there was because I wanted to be able to demonstrate, and I had the pre-sentencing investigative report, that Dan Carrow will go into court and make false sworn statements. In family court, he made false sworn statements, and on September 29th, 2011, we went into court, and the judge dismissed the action. There is no more temporary protection order because Dan's allegations are baseless. And in that proceeding, Dan had to say, yeah, I've known her for over 10 years. So in family court, he admitted that he had lied in the pre-sentencing investigative report when he said that our relationship was confined to the 2 years that we had spent as roommates when we shared an apartment up in Washington Heights. So I had to subpoena the commissioner of probations. He sends down his attorney, and I'm trying to tell his attorney, this is very serious. You have probations officers who will lie to put someone in jail. These are very serious crimes. And by the way, if the commission, and this guy blew me off. There's going to be another video that we're going to look at, and I say to him in a second attempt, because I go to him again and I say, look, this isn't funny. This is very serious. And I say to him, look, you did not check your humanity at the door, did you? And he smirks and he says, yes, I checked my humanity at the door. Do you know how frightening that is when the attorney for the New York City Legal Department conspires in crimes, Mr. FBI Mike Gayta? So we're going to look at two videos. The first video is me standing out in the hall with attorney Mr. Hackworth, who was sent down in response to a subpoena. And I'm trying to explain to him that the reason he's there is because Dan Carrow will commit very serious crimes. He'll lie to a probation officer to put someone in jail illegally, and the probations officers also falsified this report. So this is very serious for the commissioner here. These people should be fired and brought up on charges. So let's look at the video. And I want you to be a little patient with the video because I may have to play it once or twice so you can, really get it. But here we go. It's going to be a little skewed. The person who was helping me was on the inside, so to speak, and they were helping me take this video. So here we go. Okay, so here's the video. It's just dark till it starts playing. Oops. I'm trying to enlarge the view a little bit. All right, and let me just punch up the sound for the Mini Mac. And here we go. It's going to take a few seconds till we get oriented.
Okay. Can you use the restroom really fast, and then I'll do this with you. This is me. I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave anything out stolen.
I need to get upstairs in the next 7 minutes.
Why?
Because I need to notify them that you received the papers.
Are you staying for what's going on tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I need to serve you these several times.
Well, what I'm most concerned about is this here. This is the probations report.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the part that really causes me great concern.
Okay.
Wait. 2 seconds.
We can talk about. I just need to. If you can take the papers.
I will.
You go to the bathroom. I go upstairs, and we'll come back.
We will. Just 1 second.
Okay.
This is page 3, where it says defendant refused to be interviewed.
Right, okay.
Now, they told me that this is going to be rescheduled. Okay, so this is very serious.
Okay.
And then on page 7, it says, oh, here's all the stuff she said. Defendant reported psychological problems. No, I didn't. Defendant reported not receiving required aftercare services. And that's not true. Defendant reported she seeing a professional for psychiatric reasons. That's a lie. This is Steve Seltzer, who's the supervising probations officer. Do you mean to tell me that your probations officers, at the best, are so grossly incompetent that they don't know whether they talk to me or not? That's not true. This is fraud.
Okay, so I'm not telling you anything about the document. I've never seen the document before. I need to give you these documents.
What are these? Why are you telling me?
This is a motion to quash the subpoena of the commissioner.
Why is it a motion to quash?
Because the Commissioner Schiraldi, doesn't know anything about personally.
Oh, yes, you do. I brought this up to the warden.
Okay.
Everybody in Rikers Island knew about this. The entire mental health
department. So I have a duty
knew.
to give you these papers.
Lisa Cherlaw.
Will you take them?
Well, I'm trying to tell you here. You've got 2 probations officers who claim that I never. Right here.
Right.
They
we can talk about all that, but at first I just need to give you these papers.
This is very serious here.
Can I give you the papers?
Well, I mean, the papers for what? I'm
for a motion
discussing.
to quash.
Why would you want to suppress this when you've got
If you don't want them, then I'll just tell you that you don't want them.
No, but this is very serious.
Keep it down a little.
Okay. I'm sorry. And then the other issue here is Dan Carroll lied when he said that our relationship was confined to the 2 years we spent as roommates.
Right.
That's not true.
Okay.
Andrew Lankler is a phone call away. I have papers for what? This is very serious. I was one of several hiring managers. I worked with Dan Carroll at Kaplan Educational Centers. You've got a fraud scheme here, sir. This is very serious. Okay, this is not, oh, I'm going to squash it and go away.
Yeah,
Dan Carroll has no credibility. He lied to put me in jail. Had he told the truth, I never would have been illegally incarcerated. Everyone at Rikers Island knew this. Lisa Cherloff, the supervising doctor, knew it. The entire mental health department. Psychiatry is dangerous to others. Every CO, every inmate, the warden. I was on the phone on tape-recorded conversations screaming my head off. And this has to come to this? By the way, how do I get my hands on the tape-recorded conversations where I demonstrate that I'm telling the truth?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm trying to tell you.
You don't want to take them, you want to yell at me?
No, I don't want to yell at you. I'd like a response.
We're not going to do that.
Page 3 of the pre-sentencing investigative report says...
We can interact when you're ready to accept the papers.
But the papers for what? I'm telling you that your probations officers lied in the pre-sentence investigative report. And what is your response?
We're not going to do that.
We're not going to do what? Deny reality?
We're not going to talk
Okay, we'll do this in front of the judge then.
So that's the attorney I'm trying to talk to. I make repeated attempts last night to try to tell him that his probations officers falsified a pre-sentencing investigative report. They're liars. When I was at Rikers Island, I had the pre-sentencing investigative report with me. I showed it to everybody. I mean, there were inmates there who were like, oh my God, she showed it to everybody. I wallpapered the place with it. I told inmates. Corrections officers saw it. I explained it to them. These are people in positions of responsibility. I showed it to the top doctor there, Lisa Cherloff, who was in the medicine department, the entire mental health department knew about it. Okay, these psychiatrists at Rikers Island, they're liars. You know, that's very frightening when you're, and that's why we got to get Reverend Sharpton on board. You know, when it's your child, like it was me, who's illegally convicted and then illegally incarcerated, and the entire mental health department at Rikers Island is falsifying medical records. Lisa Cherloff is the top supervising doctor. I met with her several times, and I'm explaining to her fact after fact after fact, part of which was this pre-sentencing and investigative report, and all these people in positions of responsibility did not say, oh my goodness, you don't deserve to be here. We need to go to the warden, and the warden has to go to the governor. So, I mean, think how frightening that is. You're at Rikers Island, you're in jail, you're in prison illegally, and all the people who occupy positions of trust who are supposed to look at this and say, no, you shouldn't be here, we got to call the warden, did not. They conspired in the crime. I actually got the warden to come down to one of the buildings where I was being incarcerated illegally. The warden knows I spoke to her. I got an attorney to call her. Okay, the warden is in on this. The entire mental health department is in on this. Hello? Oh, wait, hello, caller?
I wonder why I have a problem trying to trust anybody in a position of power.
No, they're all scum. I mean, they're, and at this point, Rikers Island is so dangerous that they'll imprison, innocent people. And, I mean, this wasn't one corrections officer. This wasn't two corrections officers. This wasn't, one psychiatrist. Bob Arkow, let me just cut to the chase here. They rotate psychiatrists to try to lessen the corruption, but the consistent person at Rikers Island is a guy named Bob Arkow. Now, Bob Arkow knows what's going on. He conspires in the crime. All telephone conversations from Rikers Island are tape recorded and or monitored. So as this is happening, I'm calling people like my attorneys and I'm telling them, and I got my mother to call Bob Arkow. This is my mother calling Bob Arkow, who's head of, he's the head social worker who's head of the mental health department. And he's telling my mother, there's nothing I can do about falsified medical records. Are you out of your mind? This is fraud. There's a lot you can do. So Bob Arkow is in this network of criminals, their point person at Rikers Island. He's been there forever. He does not get rotated. The psychiatrists will be rotated, but not Bob Arkow, and he's directly responsible for very serious crimes. Now, what I want to show the viewing audience is the second video where I go back and I try to talk to this attorney again, and I say to him, look, I'm trying to explain to you, sir, that you've got probations officers, not just the two in the pre-sentencing investigative report, but when I was at Rikers, I talked to a third probations officer. She interviewed me at least 3 times. This went on for at least an hour. She was writing up, in depth and details. I'm explaining to her the facts in my case. She got 3 probations officers who are participating in crimes. In addition to Lisa Cherloff, the entire mental health department, probations officers. So here I am. I want to play the second video before the, because we have about 15 minutes left.
I wonder if Gloria Allred would ever pick this up.
Reverend Sharpton, our children are in danger. And we need a moral force. We need Reverend Sharpton to start screaming his head off about, because it's so blatantly, I can't imagine if there were subtleties of argument, because, no pun intended. This is so black and white. This is so obvious that if I even wonder why they bother with the pretense. Why don't you just shoot me? Because that's what that's what the intent here is, to destroy a person's life. It's so blatantly obvious. That's
what the government is doing to 9/11 responders.
So you're a 9/11 responder there, caller?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, the government lies. The government lies. And I had an expert witness named David Hunter who said, yeah, they had hearings in Congress with people who were lying because
the CDC and NIOSH are part of the Zadroga Act panel, and they want to basically just finish the job that the terrorists started. They are denying a lot of the injuries that have occurred to us.
Yeah, of course, the government lies. They'll lie in a number of different contexts. And since your concern is the 9/11 first responders, yeah, the government will lie, because what the government can't deal with, and this is what David Hunter brought out, was if you start really being honest about it, some of the poisons that the 911 first responders breathed in, ingested, were exposed to are mutagenic. So you're going to see problems with their children and with their children's children. So this is
the mutagens.
Yeah.
A lot of them were super cancer causing.
And we'll get to the whole issue of cancer too. So yes, the government lies. These people are in positions of trust and they lie. And because I told the truth, this is how I was treated. Guess what? I'm an American dissident. But I want to go, caller, stay with me. I'm going to turn down your volume a little bit because what I want to do is get to this other video where I'm going to just turn down your volume a little bit. So let's stay with me, caller, because there's like 15 minutes left, and there's a second video where I go back to the attorney that was sent by the New York City remember, I subpoenaed the commissioner for the New York City Probations Department. You can't get any higher than Vincent L.
12 minutes, hurry up.
Vincent N. Schiraldi. I got 12 minutes. Let me get to this video. And what I say to this guy, I'm going to turn down your volume a little bit, caller. What I say to this attorney, Mr. Hackwork, is I'm talking, you know, a normal, decent response, a normal, decent human being would have said, oh my goodness, Miss Radin, this is the first I'm hearing about it, but sit down and tell me about this a little bit. Let me look at this. You know, a normal, decent human being would not say, as this man says on this video, yes, I did. I checked my humanity at the door. That's sociopathic. That's sick. So let's watch that. This is me approaching him.
Hello, are you the commissioner?
No.
You're a friend of this? Oh, sorry. I haven't met the gentleman. Look, it's very,
He's just a stranger.
it's very serious when you've got probations officers. We're not going to talk about probations officers falsifying a pre-sentence investigative report. I mean, if you deny reality, it doesn't mean it's going to go away. So we're not going to talk about how your probations officers intentionally falsified a pre-sentencing investigative report.
No.
We're not going to do that. Do you have a card, sir?
No.
You don't have a card. What's your name?
That is that.
Okay.
It's on the papers, you wouldn't pay.
I'm going to take papers for what? I mean, you didn't check the humanity at the door.
No, yes, I did.
That's really sad. You checked.
I did.
You checked your humanity at the door.
did.
That's really sad. Are you a friend of his?
He just said, I'm saying to him, did you get that, caller?
No, I couldn't, because I missed half of it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to play it again. But, you know, I'm saying to this guy, you didn't check your humanity at the door, and he says, yes, I did. So you know what? Thanks, caller. Thank you for being out there, and I'm gonna play this again. So let me go to the view. Here we go. Now I'm approaching this guy in the courtroom.
Hello, are you the commissioner?
No.
You're a friend of this? Oh, sorry. I haven't met the gentleman. Look, it's very,
He's just a stranger.
it's very serious when you've got probations officers. We're not going to talk about probations officers falsifying a pre-sentence investigative report. I mean, if you deny reality, it doesn't mean it's going to go away. So we're not going to talk about how your probations officers intentionally falsified a pre-sentencing investigative report.
No.
We're not going to do that. Do you have a card, sir? You don't have a card. What's your name?
That is that. Okay. It's on the papers, you wouldn't take.
I'm going to take papers for what? I mean, if you didn't check the humanity at the door.
No, yes, I did.
That's really sad. You checked.
I did.
You checked your humanity at the door.
Did.
That's really sad. Are you a friend of his?
Nice talking to you.
That's really sad.
Well, I think he's being sarcastic right now. But
that's really sad.
Why don't you just take the paper?
That's really sad.
The paper.
Why doesn't he deal with 2 probations officers who contradicted themselves in the pre-sentence investigative report to put someone in jail illegally? That's not something to smile about. That's really sad. No, my case was about Dan Carrow, who pursued an illegal eviction. I won, and I'm trying to get my attorney's fees back.
Oh, you had an attorney in that case?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
They're not helping you get the fees back, though?
No, they're not.
Okay. So it sounds like you have a different case with this probation officer situation.
Well, the pre-sentencing investigative report demonstrates that Dan Carrow lied when he was angry and frustrated because he lost.
A different case, though.
No, it doesn't. It attacks his credibility. It has no credibility. By the way, that's really sick. Someone would lie to put an innocent person in jail because he was angry and vindictive after losing an eviction. That's really sick.
You gotta agree with that, though. That is sick. But this is a different situation.
No, Dan Carrow lied.
You're trying to get your attorney's fees back.
Correct.
Yeah, that's
correct.
Not...
And I already won the landlord-tenant case. But in case Dan says anything, Dan has no credibility.
Who's Dan, anyway?
Dan Carrow was my roommate.
In this case? Right
in this case, yeah. I'm suing him for my attorney's fees.
Okay.
He lied to the probation department. He makes false sworn statements in court. He lost his landlord-tenant case. Angry and vindictive, he lied to the probations officers. I knew him for more than 2 years.
I was quite clear that I would talk to you after you took the papers.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You can't talk to you.
So I'm not going to. Sorry.
You're not going to talk.
You can talk at me all you want, but I'm not going to respond.
You're not going to
respond. Any meaningful way. No.
Just take the papers.
I'm not going to take your papers.
Right.
I'm talking to you about something that's very serious.
So we're moving on.
But if you want to talk, you should take the papers.
I don't need to take it. Are you really?
Upstairs, is that what you're saying?
Dead.
Yeah. How many other people are there?
Well,
it's unbelievable.
Are they all from working law?
There's 3 volunteers.
I'm telling an attorney for the probations department in Manhattan that his probations department, that his probations officers falsified a pre-sentence investigative report, and you guys are ignoring it. Thanks. I hope your family's real proud of you. Thanks.
Okay, again, caller, did you understand at least some of that?
Yeah, I understood it. What he was basically telling you was to take a hike because he wanted to protect his job, his boss's job, and the lies that came from all the people.
The part where I'm saying to him, I'm talking to you about probations officers who are falsifying documents to put someone in jail illegally, and he's just ignoring it. That's profoundly disturbed. That's not normal. A normal, decent human being would say, oh my goodness, Miss Radin, this is the first I'm hearing about it. Let me see the pre-sentencing investigative report. It's not rocket science. I just presented it to the viewing audience.
He didn't care because he's an office lackey.
I'm sorry, he's a court officer, and he takes an oath to uphold the law. And, aside from all that stuff, you didn't really check your humanity at the door. And he actually says that. Yes, I did. I checked my humanity at the door. All
he was doing was upholding the corrupt law that was going on.
He's part of the corruption that's going on. So there you are, FBI agent Mike Gayta. When the local boys conspire in crimes, this is a job for the FBI. And you should be stepping in now, Mike Gayta, because what you got is Detective Cologne lied on the witness stand. ADA Alex Spiro lied to a judge. Judge Simpson refuses to enforce a valid subpoena. In my next show, I'm going to give the details of the documents that she refuses to...
4 minutes.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at the time. It's 6:54, and I've got, about 6 minutes, 5 minutes. Now it's 6:55. But the bottom line is, I've demonstrated irrefutably that it's dangerous to live here in New York. And it's very frightening. You've got...
Well, one of the people you can thank for that is Mike Bloomberg.
Yeah.
Before him, when we had Giuliani in power, this would never have gone on.
Amen, hallelujah, and mazel tov to that. Because when Giuliani had a rabbi who was committing crimes, he just prosecuted him. He didn't care where who you were, what you are. If you were engaged in crimes, he prosecuted and he protected people.
Well, now that we have a Jew who decides he's going to do what's best for New York and break his own laws, there's no such thing as true justice in the city.
So are you anti-Semitic because you referred to Mayor Bloomberg as a Jew?
No, I just don't like the stuff he does.
Now, when I criticize Jewish people, I'm called anti-Semitic. It's not anti-Semitic to tell the truth. And Reverend Sharpton, and Reverend Sharpton defended me, and he also said stuff like when I was working with Reverend Sharpton. I am a member of Reverend Sharpton's National Action Network, when I was being criticized for telling the truth, I was called anti-Semitic, and he said the same thing in my defense. He's like, well, when I criticize Jewish people in New York, I'm called anti-Semitic, and I'm not. I'm just telling the truth. Sorry if people don't like to hear the truth, but that is the truth. I think it's incredibly frightening that everyone at Rikers Island would know that they had an innocent person and do nothing. This would be bad anywhere, but this involves the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University, a school built by Holocaust survivors. These are people who beat their breasts every week and lament about the Holocaust. How did the Holocaust happen? This is how the Holocaust happened. I checked my humanity at the door. That's what this guy said. This is how the Holocaust happened. It's 6:57. I don't know what else to say. I mean, the FBI has a responsibility to step in. That means
more than that. It's more than the FBI. It's our justice system needs to step up and be corrected.
We don't have a justice system. We have a means of aggression. You go down, you file false criminal charges, and you use the system to destroy the life of an innocent person. That's what my medical school did. So if any of the victims of Yeshiva University had done what I did, had gone into the public forum and said and done whatever they had to say and do, you stay away from the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University. These people are dangerous, dangerous, dangerous to others.
You're off the air.
I know.